I'm 78 years old. I've lived longer than many people I once believed would grow old beside me, and I've been carrying something quietly for years now. It's the understanding of what my silence cost the people I loved. I'm not saying this to defend myself, and I'm not looking for forgiveness. Most of the people I would want to hear these words are either gone or so distant now that words can't reach them the way they once could. I'm saying this because there isn't much time left for me, and because maybe someone listening still has time I always assumed I had. My days are slower now. Mornings arrive gently, but my body doesn't. There's stiffness in my hands, my back, little reminders that time has already made its decisions. The house is quiet before I am. I sit longer than I used to. I think more than I want to. When you reach this age, memories don't wait their turn. They come forward on their own. And it's never the big moments first. It's the small ones, the pauses, the things I didn't say because I thought I could say them later. For most of my life, I believed silence was harmless. I thought if I didn't speak, I couldn't hurt anyone. I believed holding things inside was a kind of discipline, maybe even strength. I wasn't confrontational. I didn't complain much. I didn't confess much either. I let time speak for me, thinking that was enough. I grew up in a home where words were used carefully, not cruelly, just sparingly. My mother kept the house running without ever asking for praise. My father worked, came home tired, and rested in quiet. Feelings weren't discussed unless something had gone visibly wrong. If no one was crying or angry, you kept going. That felt normal to me. It felt safe. So when I married in my 20s, I carried that silence with me. My husband was not a quiet man. He spoke easily. He asked questions. He said when he was worried, when he was proud, when something hurt him. I listened. I nodded. I assumed my listening was enough. I didn't think he needed words back from me. I was there, wasn't I? I worked hard in my own way. I took care of the home. I raised the children. I made sure things didn't fall apart. I believed love showed itself through reliability, through doing what needed to be done. I didn't understand yet that love also needs to be spoken again and again, especially in ordinary moments. When he asked me what I was feeling, I often said I didn't know. That wasn't completely untrue. I hadn't learned how to name the things inside me. It felt awkward, almost embarrassing, like speaking a language I hadn't practiced. So I stayed quiet. Silence felt easier, familiar. There are moments I remember clearly now. Sitting at the kitchen table late at night, the children asleep, dishes done, he would look at me, waiting for something real. And I would look down at my hands, hoping the moment would pass if I didn't touch it. Sometimes it did. Sometimes he spoke instead. Over time, he spoke less. Back then, I told myself this was just what long marriages became, quieter, more settled. I didn't realize that quiet can mean comfort to one person and loneliness to another. When our children were young, I was always busy, always nearby, but often distant. I attended school events, I cooked, cleaned, organized. But I didn't sit with them long enough to ask how they felt. I thought giving them space was respect. I didn't want to interfere. I didn't realize they were waiting for interest, not control. I remember my daughter coming to me once with a drawing she had spent days on. She stood there holding it carefully, her face open and hopeful. I glanced at it, told her it was nice, and turned back to what I was doing. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was tired. I assumed she knew I loved her. She stopped bringing me things after that, not suddenly, slowly. My son learned early that I wasn't someone who talked much. He adjusted. He became quiet too. We shared routines, not conversations. Sitting together, long car rides, comfortable silence, I told myself. It took me years to understand that what felt comfortable to me may have felt like distance to him. In my 40s, life grew heavier. More responsibilities, more people depending on me. I told myself there would be time later to reconnect, to say what I hadn't said yet. I didn't feel like I was neglecting anyone. I felt like I was holding everything together. What I was really doing was postponing closeness. I couldn't see it then. I see it clearly now. Nothing broke all at once. There was no single argument, no dramatic moment you could point to. It was erosion, conversations delayed, questions never asked, apologies saved for later until later stopped making sense. Love assumed instead of spoken. My husband stopped asking how I felt because I rarely answered. I stopped telling him how I felt because I didn't know how. We lived beside each other, polite and efficient. From the outside, it probably looked stable. I remember the day he told me he felt lonely sitting next to me. I remember thinking he was exaggerating. I was right there. I didn't understand then that loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about not being known. I didn't say anything that day. I thought if I stayed calm, if I didn't open something I couldn't manage, it would settle. I didn't know that was the moment he needed me to say something real. Years later, he became ill, not suddenly, slowly, appointments, hospital rooms, long waits. I became more attentive then, more present in practical ways. I cared for him carefully. But even then, I struggled to say what mattered most. I kept thinking there would be a clearer moment, a right moment, one where the words would come easily. He died before that moment arrived. At his funeral, people spoke about his warmth, his openness, the way he made others feel seen. I stood there and realized how little of that I had returned to him. Not because I didn't feel it, but because I never said it. After he was gone, the silence in the house changed. It stopped feeling neutral. It became heavy. It answered me when I spoke. I replayed conversations we never had, sentences I never finished. I talked to empty rooms, trying to make up for decades of restraint. My children are grown now. They have lives of their own. We speak, but carefully. They are kind to me. They check in. But there is a distance that feels settled, not angry, just permanent. I understand now that relationships rarely break loudly. They thin. They fade, they become polite. And once that happens, it's very hard to bring warmth back without it feeling unnatural. There are things I cannot fix. I can't go back and tell my husband he mattered to me every single day. I can't sit beside my children when they were small and ask the questions I didn't think to ask. I can't reclaim the moments that passed quietly while I waited for a better time. I used to believe love was something people just knew. I thought saying it too often made it smaller. What I learned too late is that silence doesn't protect love. It starves it. Now, when I speak, I try to be honest. But honesty at this age is different. It arrives shaped by loss. The words land heavier because there is so little time left to answer them. If you're listening, I don't know your life. I don't know who you love or how you show it. I only know what it felt like to assume there would always be time to explain myself. There usually isn't. People don't need perfect words. They need to hear that they matter while they can still respond. Silence can feel safe, but it leaves too much space for doubt. I'm not telling you to speak constantly. I'm not saying explain everything. I'm only saying don't let silence do all your speaking for you. People grow tired of guessing. One day they stop waiting. These days my time feels different. I notice seasons. I count the voices that still call. I'm grateful for what remains, even as I mourn what doesn't. I sit with the quiet now, but it isn't the silence I once chose. This one is earned. It's filled with memory and understanding, and things that can't be changed. If this meant something to you, if it touched something you've been setting aside, I hope you don't do what I did and assume it can wait. You don't have to change who you are. You don't have to make speeches. Just don't disappear behind quiet the way I did. I don't have much time left. I know that now. I spend it more carefully. I speak more honestly. I listen better. Not because I expect anything back, but because this is who I should have been all along. When my days end, I want fewer unsaid things left behind. I want my quiet to feel complete, not empty. That's all I wanted to say.